CEO Toan and I found Ly Tu Diem's whereabouts near the forest. Someone reported it.
Is that true? Police, Ly Tu Diem, try your best. I will find her. My life has been in chaos since the day she disappeared.
I can't fall like this. I have to be strong. Toan must miss me a lot.
Ly Tu Diem here. Hello everyone. I send you my warmest wishes for good health and lasting peace in your life. Some reunions are quiet, others speak through tears. On the day we met again, CEO Toan couldn't hold back his emotions, his eyes filled with tears, his voice trembling with everything left unsaid. He had missed me so deeply, so silently, that when he finally saw me standing there, it was as if time itself stopped to let his heart breathe again. That moment I will carry with me forever. The rain had not stopped for days. Thunder rumbled through the mountains, and deep within the forest, a girl sat curled beneath the jagged edge of a rock, shivering. Her clothes were soaked, her hands trembled, but her eyes burned with something stronger than fear-hope. Far away, in a place of comfort and light, a man stared out the window of his silent home. His suit was untouched, his coffee cold. He was supposed to be in meetings, dealing with contracts, managing a business empire. But all CEO Toan could think about was her. She had once saved him when he was the one lost and broken. Now she was the one missing, disappeared after a stormy night in the forest, without a trace. Her name haunted every breath he took. Ly Tu Diem. Her laughter, her quiet strength, the way she held pain behind a fragile smile, all of it lived in his heart like a ghost refusing to be forgotten. He had searched days and nights through villages, markets, hospitals. He had begged the authorities, hired trackers, even questioned strangers who might have seen a girl alone in the rain. But still, no word. And Diem, she had seen death with her own eyes. While searching for bamboo shoots to sell, she stumbled upon something horrifying: men burying a body in the woods. They chased her, tried to silence her. She ran with everything she had, thorns tearing at her skin, hunger twisting her stomach. She hid in caves, drank rainwater, survived on wild fruit. Every night, she whispered his name like a prayer. Toan, please find me. But doubt crept in. Would he still be searching? Or had life moved on without her? Back in the city, Toan was no longer the calm, collected CEO people once knew. His eyes were tired, his smile gone. He couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. He carried her photo in his pocket like a compass for his soul. Wherever you are, Diem, I'll find you. Then one day, an old farmer from the hills arrived at the police station. He had seen a girl, dirty and barefoot, wandering near the ravine, too scared to speak, too weak to walk. When Toan heard, he dropped everything. The next morning, before the sun rose, he was already driving into the misty hills. As his car stopped near the forest edge, he stepped out slowly, heart racing. He looked around, and there through the fog, leaning against a tree, thin and pale but unmistakably her, was Diem. Her knees gave way when she saw him, and Toan ran. He caught her in his arms before she hit the ground. She looked up, tears mixing with the rain. "I thought you'd forget me," she whispered. "Never." He choked, holding her tightly. "This heart waited only for you." Where the heart waits, love never disappears. It just keeps beating, hoping. Will Ly Tu Diem return to CEO Toan? She already has. Toan lifted Diem gently into the car. Her body was fragile, her skin cold as ice, but she clung to him like a lifeline. No words passed between them during the drive, just silence filled with unsaid emotion. Glances that held more than conversations ever could. At the hospital, the doctors rushed to check her. Dehydrated, malnourished, scratches, bruises, but she was alive. Toan sat outside her room, his hands clenched tightly. The nurse had told him she kept murmuring his name in her sleep. Even while unconscious, she had never stopped calling out for him. When he was finally allowed in, Diem opened her eyes slowly. Her voice was barely a whisper. "You came." He knelt beside her bed, his eyes glistening. "Of course I did. I promised to find you." Tears rolled down her cheeks. "I was so scared. I thought I would die in that forest, and you'd never know." Toan took her hand gently. "Every minute without you felt like an eternity. The world kept moving, but my heart didn't. It waited for you." Diem turned her head away, ashamed. "I didn't want to be a burden. You've already done so much for me. I owed you money, and I left without saying goodbye." "You owe me nothing," Toan said firmly. "You gave me my life back when I was lost. Now it's my turn." A soft knock at the door interrupted the moment. It was his mother, carrying warm soup and a wool blanket. She smiled kindly at Diem. "Welcome home. Child, rest now. You're safe." Diem was overwhelmed. For the first time in so long, she felt seen, not as a runaway, not as a burden, but as someone worth protecting. Days passed, and Diem began to heal. With each spoonful of soup, each smile from the housekeeper, each quiet conversation with Toan, a piece of her broken self returned. Toan never left her side. One evening, as the sun dipped beyond the horizon and the sky turned golden, Diem stepped onto the balcony. She looked at the man beside her, the man who searched the world to find her. "Toan," she whispered, "why do you care so much?" He turned to her, his voice low and full of truth. "Because the day you saved me, I stopped being afraid of love. And the day you disappeared, I realized I couldn't live in a world without you in it." Her eyes welled with tears. "But I have nothing. I'm no one, just a girl who survived." Weeks passed. Ly Tu Diem regained her strength, slowly but surely. She started walking again, then helping around the house, watering plants, folding blankets, watching the chickens in the backyard. With a small smile, every day, she seemed more alive, more like herself. But deep inside, the past still lingered, the fear, the shame, the feeling that she didn't belong in Toan's world. One morning, she found a letter beside her bed. It wasn't long, just a single sheet in Toan's handwriting. "Diem, I know you're thinking about leaving. I see it in your eyes. But please, don't. You don't have to go back to the shadows. You saved me once. You taught me to feel again. Let me spend the rest of my life making sure you never have to feel alone again, Toan." Diem folded the letter, tears wetting the paper. No one had ever written to her like that. No one had ever truly wanted her to stay. Later that evening, Toan returned home early. He found her in the garden, hands covered in soil, planting new seeds. He smiled. "What are you doing out here?" Diem stood up shyly. "I thought maybe, if I helped make something grow, I'd feel less like I'm in someone else's world." Toan walked over, brushed a lock of hair from her cheek. "This is your world, Diem, as much as it is mine." She hesitated, "Even after everything, even after I disappeared, after the danger, after all the trouble I caused you?" He nodded slowly. "Especially because of that. You didn't cause trouble. You survived, you fought, and you still came back with a heart that knows how to love." Then, quietly. He took out a small box from his pocket. And I want to make sure that wherever you go next, you never have to go alone again. Diem's breath caught as he opened the box. Inside wasn't a ring, not yet. Just a delicate silver bracelet engraved with 2 words, "Found forever." Toan looked into her eyes. No pressure, no rush. Just a promise that my heart is yours if you want it. Diem looked down at the bracelet, then back at him, her voice trembling. "I never thought I deserved something like this." Toan shook his head, smiling. "You deserve everything, Diem." And in that moment, surrounded by soft winds and blooming flowers, Diem didn't feel like a girl who had run from her past. She felt like someone who had finally come home. Life lesson: sometimes life leads us through the darkest forest where fear, loneliness, and doubt surround us. We may feel lost, invisible, or unworthy of love. But even in the most hopeless moments, there is always a chance for light. Ly Tu Diem's story reminds us that no one is too broken to be loved, and no journey is too far when the heart still believes. True love is not about perfection, it's about patience, trust, and the courage to stay when it's easier to walk away. And Toan teaches us that love means more than words. It means showing up when someone is lost. It means holding their hand when they're afraid. It means waiting, no matter how long, until they find their way back. In the end, where the heart waits with hope, love will return. Continued life lesson: love, when it is real, doesn't need grand gestures. It lives in the quiet moments, the warm bowl of soup, the silent waiting, the whispered "I believe in you." Ly Tu Diem and CEO Toan remind us that healing is not rushed, it is chosen every single day. Even after being hurt, abandoned, or misunderstood, a wounded heart can still learn to love again. But it takes a safe place to rest. It takes someone who sees past your scars and chooses to stay. Toan did not rescue Diem out of pity, he stood by her out of respect. He saw her strength, not her past. And Diem, though afraid, slowly learned to trust again, not because the world became kinder, but because someone finally chose to be kind. This teaches us that sometimes love is not about finding someone perfect, but about being the person who stays when it's hardest. In a world full of temporary things, be someone who makes others feel safe. Be the reason someone believes in love again. And if you're the one who is lost, know this: you are never too far gone to come home.